Hi foodies, I'm back. I want to show you food prep is key. This is how we live our lifestyle. We can eat whatever we want, whenever we want. There are no restrictions with carb, whole sugars. We do not consume oils, but we have whole sugars. We have whole complex carbs. We do not limit ourselves because since we eat a combination of foods, it satisfies us and our body tells us when we're satiated. So we are able to have the bread that I showed you guys a little bit earlier in my earlier live. I'll show you. They've come out. Here's the sun-dried tomato one. We have a whole loaf. Jay will eat this whole loaf as a sandwich. This is the sun-dried tomato. And we have the other one that came out, which is the dill garlic. The dill garlic is already out. This whole loaf will be mine. This whole loaf will be Jay's. So we do not restrict bread or carbs or any of that stuff. That's how I lost 65 pounds, and that's how he lost more than 88 pounds. I want to show you how we live our lifestyle. 5 minutes. My lunch is going to be 5 minutes. The only thing that I've done today was play around making my biscuits because I am kind of obsessed with biscuits right now. So we made the biscuits, which was 15 minutes, got all my ingredients out. It baked for 10 minutes. So 10 minutes to get it all together, 10 minutes to bake it. I have 2 loaves of bread, the sun-dried tomato, and I have my dill garlic bread that already came out. These are going to be used later. So that's just food prep. So I spent a total of 20 minutes in the kitchen, 10 minutes washing the dishes. That's it. Let's call it 20. So the next thing that I saw that I wanted to do is I wanted to make a little batch of caramelized shallots. We love shallots and we love caramelized shallots. And I had made millet yesterday and I had made bulgur wheat. So I wanted to make a millet bulgur wheat kind of like wholesome bowl. So because I was caramelizing my onions, I actually didn't know that that's what I was going to have for lunch. That's what I love about plant-based, that I have all this prep and I was caramelizing the onions just as food prep. So I was doing my work and the onions were doing their business on the stove because I was doing them low and slow, and I would stir them, let them caramelize, put a couple of drizzles of water, let them stick. That's the key. You let them stick a little bit to get that caramel color. Then you hit them with a tiny bit of water. You stir them again. And then it's just low and slow. So I was sitting there and I was like, well, what are we going to have for lunch? Are we going to have our sandwiches with our biscuit bread, or what am I going to do? And I'm like, well, I've been making the caramelized onions and I have the millet and all my other food prep in the fridge. So I'm going to pull it out and see what I can whip it up and show you guys how quick it is. So here's my caramelized onions. I've taken half of them. Half I've put away for food prep and half I have in here. So I am going to mix my millet. So I have some kale. This is my favorite kale, actually. This is, the onions are warm, so this should wilt it down some, which will be great. This is Lacinato kale, which is my favorite, and I don't always get it at all the stores, but I know Publix has it, so when they have it, I do pick it up. I don't know what it is about it, but it is my favorite. It's a little hardier. It's like a thicker leaf, but you have to strip it. You have to become a stripper and just strip your kale because you got to take out that middle back part of it because it's a little tough, but don't throw them away because if you save all those middle parts and you chop them up really fine, you can saute them up and they're really yummy in other dishes. So I'm just going to wilt my kale in my warm pot that I was cooking my prep onions in, and that's going to kind of warm down the kale. And then I'm going to go ahead and use whatever food prep I have. So the other day I made delicata squash, roasted them in the oven, and then at the very end I hit them with a little bit of, look, I like air cutting. I don't like cutting boards, okay? The least that I get dirty, the better. So I'm just going to rough chop these into here. They just have a tiny bit of maple syrup because once I finish roasting them, I hit them with a tiny bit of maple syrup and dust them in sesame seeds, and they're like our candy. I mean, I'm surprised that they lasted this long, but I think what I did is we had some And then I hid them. I put them away so that I could have them for this purpose, because I was wanting to make a millet dish that's kind of like a veggie dish. Sorry, I'm chewing. That's kind of like a veggie dish, but that's kind of sweet. So I like that sweet, sweet, savory feel to it. So the same tomatoes that I use for my biscuit bread, I'm just going to dump some in here. I'm trying to find different uses for these sun-dried tomatoes. I bought them in Toronto, and I don't want them to go bad because they don't have any preservatives, oil, or anything. I also bought these olives. They do not have oil or anything. They're only in brine. They do have sodium, but I'm making an exception. So I'm putting some of these very dark Moroccan olives is what they called them in here. That will give it the saltiness. And then I had some shredded carrots that I microwaved for 1 minute. So all it took me was dumping the entire bag that I had left. So this is going to provide the sweetness like the delicata. And so far I have my shallot onions, my kale, my sun-dried tomatoes, my delicata squash, and my carrots. And that in and of itself is delicious. And right now, if I didn't have the millet and the bulgur wheat, I can just add my protein. And my protein, this is protein. These have protein. So here's my chickpeas. So I'm going to leave a tiny little bit in case somebody eats a salad or whatever. So these are going to go in here. And if I want to, I can warm this whole thing up further with the onions and everything. And if I want to put flavorings in here, I can, but I'm not going to. And then let's see what else I have. I'm trying to use up things that I have in my, I'm trying to use up food prep. So I have some green onions that we had for dinner the other day when we made the lion's mane. So I'm just going to take a handful of them and I'm going to air cut them. They're cold, but they're cooked, and they just have a little bit of sesame seeds and heat because we put a little tiny bit of cayenne on them. They're not very spicy. You won't even notice them in the millet. There we go. Maybe I'll cut some more. So this is how we balance our plate. So even though it's in one pot, my plate right now is going to be balanced. It's going to have the chickpeas, which are quote unquote our protein, our major protein. I always make sure that we have some bean on our plate always because it's going to add that protein. And then a grain, which is going to be the filler and the fiber and the starchy vegetables. Those are all going to add satiation. They're going to help satiate you. That's why potatoes are so great, and that's why people should not be afraid of potatoes. This is bulgur wheat that I cooked in the Instant Pot. I have it in my stories. It's super quick. And this cooks 2 minutes. This is millet, 2 minutes in the Instant Pot. So I'm just going to dump some in here. And by the way, this millet with a tiny bit of maple syrup and dried fruits, make sure the dried fruits don't have sugar or oil in them. With dry fruits and a little bit of maple syrup warmed up is delicious. It's like dessert. I did that the other night when I cooked the millet and had it at night as almost like a snack dessert. And it feels like you're having something simple, but it's so healthy. So a couple blueberries in there, some dried fruit. You could even put nuts. I could even put pine nuts in here. So I have a great balance. I have the salty, the sweet, the green, the starch, the bean for the protein, and the bean for the iron and nutrition. And then we have a lot of veggies in here. So we have the kale, and we have the green beans, and we have the starchy veggies too. So there we go. And this is awesome because I'm going to have leftovers. So I'm going to have more food prep. So I have taken my food prep that I have here, and I haven't cleared everything because I still have some green beans left. So now, but at least now I can merge containers. So now I'll just merge my delicata squash with my green beans, and then I can have less containers in the refrigerator and then keep my food prep going. Food prep is a vicious circle. What you do is as one thing, depletes. So if you had 3 beans in your refrigerator that you were using as food prep and now you've depleted 2 of the beans, then you throw some beans in the Instant Pot and you're going to make your next batch. So just have the 3 components. the grains, the beans, the veggies available to you as food prep like I have right now. And you will always be able to, one, make a balanced dinner, but also have those things available to you, and you won't be killing yourself in the kitchen trying to cook. So I know this is all I have for beans left in my fridge, but I do have hummus because I made a turmeric hummus. So I know we can go through that, and that can go on our sandwiches that I've made the biscuit bread for. So I know now, and I have just a little bit left of red beans. So I know now that I will have to do some food prepping for my beans, which is super easy because I'm not doing any work. I'm just going to grab a bag of beans. I'm going to soak it in water. And then the next day, tomorrow, I will put, because I won't need it by tomorrow. I won't need the beans by tomorrow because we can use the turmeric hummus for our dinner. We can eat this. We will have plenty, not just for one meal for this. And let me show you how pretty and colorful it ends up being. So this has the millet and the bulgur wheat. You don't have to put that if you don't want to. You could even put a pasta in here. Instead, you could put some black rice or red rice or multigrain rice. But I chose the things that I did. You could put a little bit of seasoning in here, like garlic and such, or Mediterranean seasonings, and a little dash of California balsamics, or a little bit of maple syrup if you wanted, but I think it's going to be fine as it is. And if I want to, I can go heat it up, and then it can be either a cold salad or a room temperature one, or I can let it sit. And when Jay is ready, he's in meetings, he can't eat right now. So the flavors will build. So that is the key. Food prep, having the 3 components on your plate, balancing your plate, and I'm going to show you my plate. I've shown you guys my plate a million times, but I always pull them out, and I've never taken my tape off. Here's my plate to lose weight. Here's my plate to maintain. But you saw me put everything in here. This is the same. This is the same as these plates because I put all 3 components in this pot. So even though you don't have to separate them, but once you learn the visual of the 3 components of food elements that you want on your plate to satiate you, to cause that GLP-1 effect, to make your mind, stomach, everything connect, that you are satiated, that you don't need more food, that you're good. So, you will be fine. Whether you do it in a bowl, in a small plate, whether you do it in a snack size, whether you do it in a dinner plate. So now I focus on this one because I'm where I need to be as far as weight and such. So I am focusing on this plate. But if I ever go up or whatever, I would just revert to doing this. And this just means more cruciferous veggies, more non-starchy veggies. So the entire plate would be non-starchy and cruciferous veggies here. Here we would have the protein, which is the tofu, tempeh, beans, legumes, and then here we would have the starchy veg. So, but I can do this. So I don't have to think about it though, because when I serve myself, I don't serve myself a big portion like we needed in the beginning. I just serve myself in a small bowl. And I'm going to, and the great thing about this is you guys saw me. I haven't flavored it much. It's just the flavor of the onions that's going to give this a lot of depth. And if Jay wants to, he can choose a spicy California balsamic or put some spices on. Am I there? I had a call come in and interrupt us. I hope I'm back. So, we can flavor it however we want. So if he wants to do it spicy, jalapeno lime is his favorite California balsamic flavor. He puts he would put that on pancakes. So he can put pancakes, he can put that on this, jalapeno lime. But I might like a red onion, California balsamic, or I might like something fruitier like an apricot or the huckleberry or something like that. Or the apple, there's an autumn apple. So each person can flavor their own. So if you don't make it powerfully flavored, you use your finishers to enjoy your food the way that you personally like it. So we have a ton of finishers. We have herbal finishers, we have fresh herbs, we have spices, we have a huge rack on our dining room table that is a lazy Susan, and it's filled with black garlic and sumac and za'atar, and we have black cumin and smoked paprika, and we have garlic seasonings, and all of those things we use to use as finishers to make the meal at the end taste the way that we want. And that way we don't ingest so much sodium into our body by us cooking it by hand, because if you start adding salt in the beginning of the process through the end of the process, you've added too much sodium throughout your day. So that's another thing. So I just wanted to show you guys how come we can eat whatever we want whenever we want. Don't be scared of carbs. Don't be scared of We're not scared of fats. I don't sit there and count the fats. I just know that everything that is in my house is appropriate to the fat intake that we take in. So my tofu that I buy is under 1 saturated fat, and the milks that I buy, I know that they're under 1 saturated fat. That's how we keep it to make it easy. So, Donna, are you still there? And am I still there? Can you guys hear me? So I make sure that I buy low fat. So our lifestyle is whole foods and plant-based, no sodium, minimal sodium, because by my hand I don't add it. We just use our finishers at the end, like the California balsamics and all the herbs that the spices that I mentioned. And then we use things like green onions and cilantro and parsley and whatever other herbs that we have fresh in our house that we can top. We also use our soy cream. We make sauces out of the soy cream, out of Silken tofu that we might put on top of our food. If you're a whole food plant-based eater, sauces are king because they are great finishers for your meal before you're eating it. So get to creating with your food prep, guys. As long as you have food prep in your fridge, you are golden. Bye. Hope you're having a happy day.